The morning Dr. Sarah Chen discovered she had accidentally doomed humanity started like any other Tuesday at the Arecibo Observatory Replacement Facility in Puerto Rico. She was nursing her third cup of coffee, squinting at the massive banks of monitors displaying radio telescope data, when her colleague Marcus Rodriguez burst through the lab doors. "Sarah, you need to see this," Marcus said, his face pale as moonlight. "The sky, it's full of ships." Sarah looked up from her workstation, where she'd been analyzing the deep space transmission she'd received 3 days earlier. The message had been unlike anything in the SETI database, complex, mathematical, and clearly artificial. What made it even more intriguing was that it seemed to be addressed to Earth specifically, not just broadcast into the void like most alien communications scientists theorized about. "Ships?" Sarah asked, setting down her coffee mug with a clink that echoed in the suddenly quiet lab. "Battleships," Marcus whispered. "Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. They just appeared about 20 minutes ago." Sarah's stomach dropped. She followed Marcus outside to the observation deck, where the entire research team had gathered. Dr. James Mitchell, the facility director, was standing at the railing with binoculars pressed to his eyes. Graduate student Amy Walsh was frantically adjusting a portable telescope. Everyone was looking up. Sarah tilted her head back and felt her knees go weak. The sky was indeed full of battleships. They hung in the atmosphere like dark clouds, their hulls gleaming dully in the morning sunlight. Each ship was enormous, easily the size of aircraft carriers, maybe larger. They had a sleek, predatory design that reminded Sarah of sharks, with angular hulls that seemed to slice through the air even while stationary. Strange symbols glowed along their sides in patterns that hurt to look at directly. "My God," Sarah breathed. "How many are there?" "We've counted at least 500 over Puerto Rico alone," Dr. Mitchell said without lowering his binoculars. "Reports are coming in from every continent. London, Tokyo, Sydney, New York, they're everywhere." Sarah felt a chill that had nothing to do with the morning breeze. 3 days ago, she had received that transmission. It had been formatted in a way that suggested it was a distress call, though the mathematics were so complex she was still working to fully decode it. The message had included what appeared to be coordinates, Earth's coordinates, and a request for assistance. At the time, Sarah had been thrilled. First contact with an alien civilization, and they were asking for help. She had immediately begun working on a response, using the facility's powerful transmitter array to send back a message indicating that Earth had received their call and was willing to assist. Now, looking at the armada filling the sky, Sarah realized she might have made a terrible mistake. "Dr. Chen," Amy Walsh called out, her voice tight with panic. "I think you should see this." Sarah hurried over to where Amy was hunched over her laptop, which she'd connected to the facility's main communication array. The screen showed a new transmission coming in on the same frequency as the original message. "It's addressed to you specifically," Amy said, her fingers trembling as she typed. "The translation software is having trouble with some of the concepts, but the basic meaning is clear." Sarah read the message that appeared on screen, her heart sinking with each word. "To Sarah Chen of Earth, we have received your offer of assistance. The Zephyrian battle fleet has arrived to collect the requested military support. Please prepare your weapons and warriors for immediate deployment to the conflict zone. Time is critical. The hegemony advance forces are only days behind US. We thank you for joining the resistance." Sarah stared at the message, feeling the blood drain from her face. "Oh no," she whispered. "Oh no, no, no." "Sarah?" Marcus appeared at her shoulder. "What is it?" "I think I misunderstood their original message," Sarah said, her voice barely audible. "They weren't asking for help. They were asking for military alliance." Dr. Mitchell lowered his binoculars and turned to face her. "What do you mean?" Sarah's mind raced as she tried to recall the exact wording of the original transmission. The mathematics had been so complex, the concepts so alien, that she'd relied heavily on the translation software. But now, looking at this new message, she realized the software might have misinterpreted key elements. "The original message," Sarah said slowly, "I thought it was a distress call. But what if it was a military recruitment message? What if they were asking Earth to join some kind of interstellar war? The implications hit the group like a physical blow. If Sarah was right, then her response, her eager acceptance of their request for help, had been interpreted as Earth agreeing to provide military support in an alien conflict. And now they're here to collect their new allies, Dr. Mitchell said grimly. As if summoned by his words, the air around the facility began to shimmer. A smaller craft, sleek in silver, detached itself from the nearest battleship and descended toward the observatory. It moved with impossible grace, defying what Sarah knew about aerodynamics and physics. Everyone inside, now! Dr. Mitchell shouted. The team rushed back into the main building, but Sarah lingered on the observation deck, transfixed by the approaching ship. It was beautiful in a terrifying way, its hull covered in the same glowing symbols she'd seen on the larger vessels. As it drew closer, she could make out what appeared to be viewports along its sides, though she couldn't see any occupants. The ship landed in the facility's main courtyard with barely a whisper of sound. A section of its hull simply dissolved, revealing an opening that glowed with soft blue light. 3 figures emerged. Sarah's first thought was that they looked remarkably human, which was both reassuring and somehow more unsettling than if they had been completely alien. They were tall, perhaps 7 feet, with elongated limbs and faces that were almost human but not quite. Their skin had a subtle blue-gray tint, and their eyes were larger than human eyes, with irises that seemed to shift color in the light. They wore form-fitting suits that appeared to be made of the same material as their ship, and each carried what was unmistakably a weapon, a device that hummed with barely contained energy. The leader of the group, distinguished by additional symbols on their suit, stepped forward and spoke. The words that came out were clearly not human language, but Sarah's earpiece, connected to the facility's translation system, immediately began providing a real-time translation. Sarah Chen of Earth, the leader said, their voice carrying a musical quality that was both pleasant and alien. I am Commander Zara of the Zephyrian Battle Fleet. We have come to collect your species' contribution to the war effort. Sarah stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overriding her fear. Commander Zara, I think there's been a misunderstanding. When I responded to your message, I didn't realize you were asking for military support. Earth isn't prepared for war. Commander Zara tilted their head, the gesture eerily human. Your message was clear. You accepted our request for alliance against the hegemony. Your species agreed to provide warriors and weapons in exchange for protection and technological advancement. But we don't have warriors, Sarah protested. We don't have weapons that could possibly help in an interstellar conflict. We're scientists, not soldiers. Your species has engaged in constant warfare for millennia, Zara replied, their large eyes studying Sarah intently. Our intelligence indicates you have perfected the art of conflict. Nuclear weapons, biological warfare, advanced military tactics, these are exactly what we need to defeat the hegemony. Sarah felt a chill as she realized the aliens had been observing Earth, studying human history. From their perspective, humanity must look like a species of natural-born warriors, constantly fighting among themselves and developing increasingly sophisticated ways to kill each other. You don't understand, Sarah said desperately. Yes, we have wars, but we're trying to move beyond that. We're trying to become a peaceful species. Most of us don't want to fight anymore. Zara's expression, at least, what Sarah could read of it, seemed to shift to something like confusion. You refuse to honor your agreement? There was no agreement, Sarah said, though even as she spoke, she realized how weak that sounded. It was a mistake. A misunderstanding. Mistakes have consequences, Zara said, their voice taking on a harder edge. The hegemony is 3 days behind us. They are coming to claim this system whether you fight or not. At least with us, your species has a chance to survive. The hegemony? Sarah asked. An empire that has consumed half the galaxy, Zara explained. They strip planets of resources, enslaving or destroying any species they encounter. We are part of a coalition trying to stop them, but we are losing. We need allies, and your species' natural aggression makes you ideal candidates. Sarah's mind raced. She was a scientist, not a diplomat, but it was becoming clear that she was now humanity's de facto representative in what could be the most important conversation in human history. What if we refuse to fight? She asked. Then you will be conquered by the hegemony in 3 days, Zara said simply. They will strip your planet of its resources and either enslave your species or eliminate it entirely. We offer you a choice: fight alongside us and possibly survive, or face the hegemony alone and certainly perish. Behind Sarah, she could hear the rest of the research team whispering frantically. Dr. Mitchell stepped forward, his face grim but determined. Commander Zara, he said, we need time to consult with our governments. This is a decision that affects our entire species. We can't make it alone. Zara's gaze shifted to Dr. Mitchell, and Sarah saw something like impatience in their alien features. Time is what we do not have. The hegemony advanced scouts are already in your outer solar system. They will arrive in 72 hours. 72 hours to prepare an entire planet for interstellar war, Dr. Mitchell said, his voice heavy with the impossibility of it all. Your species has been preparing for war for its entire existence, Zara replied. Now you simply need to direct that preparation toward a worthy cause. Sarah felt a desperate plan forming in her mind. What if we could buy more time? What if we could delay the hegemony somehow? Zara's large eyes fixed on her. Explain. You said they have advanced scouts in our solar system. What if we could take out those scouts? Would that buy us more time to prepare? Perhaps, Zara said slowly. But your species lacks the technology to engage hegemony ships in space. What if you helped us? Sarah asked. What if this first mission was a joint operation? Your technology, our creativity? She was grasping at straws, but she could see Zara considering the proposal. Finally, the alien commander nodded. Very well. We will provide you with the means to engage the advanced scouts. But this mission will serve as a test of your species' worthiness as allies. If you succeed, we will provide you with additional time to prepare for the main hegemony force. If you fail. We understand, Dr. Mitchell said quickly. Zara gestured to one of their companions, who stepped forward carrying what appeared to be a small device. This is a tactical interface. It will allow selected members of your species to link with our weapon systems. Choose your best warriors. Sarah looked at the device, then back at Zara. How many people can use this? The interface can support up to 50 individuals at once, Zara replied. Choose carefully. The link is permanent and will fundamentally alter their neural pathways. 50 people. Sarah's mind reeled at the implications. They were being asked to choose 50 humans to essentially become human-alien hybrids, linked to alien weapon systems, to fight in a war they barely understood. We'll need to contact our governments, Dr. Mitchell said. This decision is too big for us to make alone. You have 6 hours, Zara said. After that, we begin the mission with or without your full cooperation. The aliens retreated to their ship, but they didn't leave. The small craft simply sat in the courtyard, waiting, while the massive battleships continued to darken the sky overhead. Sarah immediately got on the phone with Dr. Elena Vasquez, her contact at NASA headquarters. Within minutes, she was connected to a hastily assembled crisis team that included representatives from the Pentagon, the State Department, and the President's science advisor. Dr. Chen, came the voice of General Patricia Hayes from the Pentagon, we need you to tell us everything. Start from the beginning. Sarah explained the entire situation, from the original transmission to the aliens' ultimatum. When she finished, there was a long silence on the conference call. So let me get this straight, said Secretary of State Michael Torres. You accidentally signed us up for an interstellar war, and now we have 72 hours to either fight alongside these aliens or face an even worse alien invasion alone? That's essentially correct, Sarah said, wincing at the bluntness of the summary. And they want us to choose 50 people to undergo some kind of alien neural modification to operate their weapons? Yes. Another long silence. Ma'am, General Hayes finally said, I need to know, in your professional opinion, are these Zephyrians telling the truth? Is there really a hostile force coming to Earth? Sarah considered the question carefully. General, I've been studying their communications for 3 days. The mathematics are incredibly sophisticated, far beyond anything we could fake. The ships in our sky are clearly real and clearly beyond our current technology. And the Zephyrians seem genuinely desperate. I believe they're telling the truth. Then we don't have much choice, General Hayes said grimly. We'll need to mobilize our best people. Dr. Chen, I'm sending a team to your location immediately. We're going to need you to serve as our primary liaison with the aliens. Over the next few hours, the small observatory became the center of a massive military operation. Helicopters arrived carrying teams of specialists, linguists, physicists, military strategists, and psychologists. The president himself called to speak with Sarah, thanking her for her service and assuring her that the nation was behind her. But Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was all her fault. If she had been more careful with the translation, if she had consulted with others before responding to the alien message, maybe none of this would have happened. Dr. Mitchell found her sitting alone in the communications room, staring at the original alien transmission. Second-guessing yourself, he asked gently. How can I not? Sarah replied. I may have doomed our entire species. Or you may have saved it, Dr. Mitchell said. Think about it, Sarah. If these hegemony forces were coming anyway, at least now we have allies. At least now we have a chance. Before Sarah could respond, Commander Zara appeared in the doorway. The alien moved with such fluid grace that Sarah hadn't even heard them approach. Sarah Chen, Zara said, we need to discuss the mission parameters. Time grows short. Sarah stood, trying to project confidence she didn't feel. What do you need to know? Your military commanders have provided us with a list of candidates for the neural interface, Zara said. 50 of your best warriors. But I sense reluctance in your species. Are you truly committed to this alliance? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Sarah realized that this was a crucial moment not just for the mission, but for the future relationship between humanity and the Zephyrians. Commander Zara, Sarah said slowly, I want you to understand something about our species. We're not naturally warriors in the way you think. Yes, we fight, but we also create. We build, we explore, we dream. Our greatest achievements have come not from war, but from cooperation. Zara's large eyes studied her intently. And yet your history is filled with conflict. Yes, Sarah admitted. But it's also filled with people trying to end conflict. People working to build a better future. That's what I was trying to do when I responded to your message. I thought we were going to help someone, not join a war. The hegemony cares nothing for your dreams or your cooperation, Zara said. They will destroy everything you have built. Then we'll stop them, Sarah said, surprised by the steel in her own voice. Not because we're warriors, but because we're survivors. Because we protect what we love. For the first time, Zara's expression seemed to shift to something like understanding. Perhaps that is an even more powerful motivation than mere aggression. The alien commander gestured toward the window, where the first of the volunteer soldiers were arriving. Show me, they said. The volunteers were a diverse group, special forces operators, fighter pilots, Navy SEALs, and even a few civilians with relevant skills. Sarah watched as they underwent briefings about the alien technology and the nature of the neural interface. The interface process itself was both fascinating and terrifying. Each volunteer was connected to a device that looked like a metallic headband covered in the same glowing symbols as the alien ships. The moment the connection was established, the volunteers' eyes would briefly glow with the same blue light, and their posture would change subtly, as if they were suddenly aware of things beyond normal human perception. Captain Jake Morrison, a fighter pilot from Edwards Air Force Base, was the first to complete the process. When the interface was removed, he looked around the room with an expression of wonder. I can feel them, he said, his voice filled with awe. The ships. I can feel every system, every weapon. It's like they're extensions of my own body. The neural pathway is now permanent, Zara explained to the assembled scientists and military personnel. Captain Morrison is now capable of interfacing with any Zephyrian technology. He has become, in a sense, a bridge between our species. Sarah watched the process with mixed emotions. On one hand, she was witnessing an incredible breakthrough in human-alien cooperation. On the other hand, she couldn't help but feel responsible for the fundamental changes being made to these brave volunteers. As the hours passed, more volunteers underwent the interface process. Each one emerged changed, their eyes holding a new depth of understanding and their movements displaying a subtle coordination with the alien technology around them. Finally, with all 50 volunteers processed, Commander Zara announced it was time to begin the mission. The Hegemony Advanced Scouts consist of 3 vessels, Zara explained, projecting a holographic display that showed the outer solar system. They are positioned here, here, and here, conducting reconnaissance of your planet and its defenses. The display showed sleek, dark ships that looked even more predatory than the Zephyrian vessels. Where the Zephyrian ships had an organic, almost artistic quality to their design, the Hegemony vessels looked purely functional, built for one purpose: destruction. Each scout ship carries enough firepower to level one of your major cities, Zara continued. If they report back to the main fleet, the Hegemony will know exactly how to attack your world for maximum effect. So we stop them from reporting back, said Colonel Sarah Martinez, the mission commander chosen to lead the human volunteers. Precisely, Zara agreed. We will divide into 3 strike teams. Each team will consist of Zephyrian ships supported by your neural-linked volunteers. The attack must be coordinated and simultaneous. If any scout ship escapes, the mission fails. Sarah felt her heart pounding as she realized the magnitude of what was about to happen. In just a few hours, 50 human beings would be flying into space aboard alien ships to fight in humanity's first interstellar battle. What about the rest of us? Dr. Mitchell asked. Those who aren't going on the mission. You continue preparing Earth's defenses, Zara replied. Even if this mission succeeds, the main Hegemony fleet will still arrive. We will have bought time, nothing more. As the strike teams prepared to depart, Sarah found herself face to face with Captain Morrison. The neural interface had changed him in subtle ways. His eyes seemed to hold depths that hadn't been there before, and when he moved, it was with a fluid grace that reminded her of the Zephyrians. Dr. Chen, he said, his voice carrying a strange resonance, I wanted to thank you. Thank me? Sarah asked, confused. I'm the one who got us into this mess. No, Morrison said, shaking his head. You opened a door. You made first contact with a species that could have destroyed us without warning but chose instead to offer us a chance. That's not a mess, that's a miracle. Before Sarah could respond, the call came for the strike teams to board their assigned vessels. She watched as the 50 volunteers, now forever changed by their connection to alien technology, walked toward the Zephyrian ships that would carry them into battle. The departure was both spectacular and terrifying. The Zephyrian ships rose from the Earth's surface with impossible grace, their hulls gleaming in the afternoon sunlight. Sarah watched through the observatory's most powerful telescope as they accelerated toward the outer solar system, moving faster than any human-made vehicle had ever traveled. And then came the waiting. For 6 hours, Sarah and the remaining team monitored communications from the strike force. The neural-linked volunteers were able to communicate directly with the observatory through their alien interfaces, providing real-time updates on the mission's progress. Strike Team Alpha approaching target, came Morrison's voice through the communication system. Hegemony scout vessel is. God, it's huge. Easily twice the size of our Zephyrian ships. Strike Team Beta in position, reported Lieutenant Commander Jessica Park, a Navy pilot. Target acquired. This thing looks like it was built to kill. Strike Team Charlie ready, added Master Sergeant David Kim, a Special Forces operator. Target is scanning the inner solar system. We need to move now before it detects us. Sarah held her breath as Commander Zara's voice crackled through the communications array, all teams, execute on my mark. Remember, complete destruction is required. No survivors can be allowed to report back to the main fleet. 3, 2, 1, mark. What followed was the most intense 6 minutes of Sarah's life. Through the neural links, she could hear and feel fragments of the battle, the hum of alien weapons systems, the sharp crack of energy weapons firing, the desperate maneuvering of ships engaged in deadly combat. Alpha Team, we've got a problem. Morrison's voice carried a note of panic. The scout ship is launching some kind of probe. It's trying to send a message to the main fleet. Beta team, intercept that probe. Colonel Martinez commanded. Working on it. Park responded. These alien weapon systems are incredible, but this probe is fast. Sarah found herself gripping the edge of her workstation so tightly her knuckles were white. Everything hinged on this moment. If even one probe escaped to warn the main hegemony fleet, Earth would face an enemy that knew exactly how to destroy it. Got it. Kim's voice rang out triumphantly. Probe destroyed. Alpha team, confirm scout ship destruction, Martinez ordered. Confirmed, Morrison replied. Target is debris. Beta team, target eliminated, Park reported. Charlie team, scout ship destroyed, Kim added. A cheer went up in the observatory, but Sarah noticed that Commander Zara didn't join in the celebration. The alien commander was studying their instruments with a concerned expression. What is it? Sarah asked. The probe from the first scout ship, Zara said slowly. It transmitted for 2.3 seconds before being destroyed. Sarah felt her heart sink. Is that enough time to send a message? Unknown, Zara admitted. Hegemony communication protocols are highly compressed. A great deal of information can be transmitted in a very short time. The celebration in the observatory died as quickly as it had begun. They had won the battle, but they might not have prevented the hegemony from learning about Earth's defenses or lack thereof. So what does this mean? Dr. Mitchell asked. It means we must assume the worst, Zara replied. The main hegemony fleet will arrive knowing that Earth has alien allies. They will come prepared for a more difficult fight. As the strike teams began their journey back to Earth, Sarah found herself facing a new reality. The successful mission had bought them time, but it had also escalated the conflict. The hegemony would no longer see Earth as an easy target to be conquered at leisure. They would see it as a threat to be eliminated quickly and decisively. The next 48 hours passed in a blur of activity. The returning volunteers were debriefed, their experiences with the alien technology analyzed and documented. Meanwhile, every major government on Earth was mobilizing for what might be humanity's final battle. Sarah found herself at the center of it all, serving as the primary liaison between the human military forces and the Zephyrian fleet. It was a role she had never asked for and felt utterly unprepared for, but there was no one else with her combination of scientific knowledge and direct experience with the aliens. The Zephyrians, for their part, seemed impressed by the human volunteers' performance in the mission. Commander Zara even admitted that the neural interface process had worked better with humans than with most other species they had encountered. Your species has a unique adaptability, Zara explained to Sarah during one of their planning sessions. Most species find the neural interface overwhelming, but humans seem to thrive on the enhanced capabilities it provides. Maybe it's because we're used to adapting to new technology, Sarah suggested. We've been doing it for thousands of years. Perhaps, Zara agreed. Or perhaps it is because your species has survived so much conflict that you have developed an unusually strong survival instinct. As they spoke, reports continued to come in from around the world. The major powers were positioning their most advanced military assets, though everyone knew conventional weapons would be useless against the hegemony. The real defense would come from the Zephyrian ships and the neural-linked human volunteers. But 50 enhanced humans and a few hundred alien ships seemed pitifully inadequate against what Commander Zara described as a force capable of sterilizing entire star systems. It was during one of these planning sessions that Sarah had an idea that would change everything. Commander Zara, she said, looking up from a tactical display, you said the neural interface worked better with humans than with other species. What if we could expand the program? Expand it how? Zara asked. More volunteers, Sarah said, her excitement growing as she developed the idea. Instead of 50 neural-linked humans, what if we had 500? Or 5,000? Zara's large eyes widened. The interface process requires precise biological compatibility. Not all humans would be suitable candidates. But some would be, Sarah pressed. And even if only 10% of our population could safely undergo the process, that would still give us hundreds of thousands of neural link defenders.
The time required. Zara began. We have mobile interface units, Sarah interrupted.
We could set up processing centers in major cities around the world.
With enough units running simultaneously, we could process thousands of people per hour. She could see Zara considering the proposal, running calculations in their alien mind.
Finally, the commander nodded slowly.
It is possible, they admitted. But the risk is enormous.
If the interface process fails, it could cause permanent brain damage or death.
Are your people willing to accept such risks?
Sarah thought about the volunteers who had already undergone the process, about their dedication to protecting Earth despite the personal cost.
I think you'll find that humans are willing to risk a great deal to protect their home.
The proposal was immediately transmitted to the crisis teams in Washington, London, Beijing, and other major capitals. Within hours, Sarah received a response that both thrilled and terrified her. Every major government on Earth was willing to implement the expanded neural interface program. We're calling it Project Mindbridge, General Hayes explained during a secure video conference.
We're setting up processing centers in 50 major cities. Initial projections suggest we could have up to 10,000 neural-linked volunteers ready within 24 hours.
10,000, Sarah repeated, amazed at the scale of the operation.
That's an army.
It's the only army that can fight this war, the general replied grimly. As Project Mindbridge went into full swing, Sarah found herself working around the clock to coordinate between the human military forces and the Zephyrian fleet. The aliens provided the technology and technical expertise, while the humans provided the volunteers and the organizational structure to implement the program on a global scale. The volunteers came from every walk of life, soldiers and civilians, young and old, people from every nation and culture on Earth. What united them was a simple desire to protect their world and their species from an existential threat. Sarah watched the process with a mixture of pride and sadness. She was proud of humanity's response to the crisis, the way people had come together to face an unimaginable threat. But she was also saddened by the necessity of it all, by the fact that her mistake had forced the entire human race into a war they had never asked for. It was during one of these processing sessions that Sarah made a decision that would define the rest of her life. I want to undergo the interface process, she told Commander Zara. The alien commander studied her carefully.
You are not a warrior, Sarah Chen. You are a scientist.
Your value lies in your knowledge and your ability to communicate between our species. But I'm also responsible for this situation, Sarah replied. I'm the one who sent the message that brought you here.
I'm the one who accidentally committed humanity to this war. I need to be part of the solution. Zara was quiet for a long moment. The interface process will change you, they finally said. You will never be the same person you were before. I'm already not the same person, Sarah said. The moment I sent that message, I became someone else.
Someone who had to live with the consequences of their actions. Very well, Zara agreed.
But I insist that you undergo the process under my personal supervision. You are too important to risk losing to a failed interface. The neural interface process was unlike anything Sarah had ever experienced.
The moment the device activated, her consciousness expanded beyond her individual awareness.
She could feel the vast network of Zephyrian ships around Earth, sense the alien technology that permeated them, and understand the complex mathematics that governed their operation.
But more than that, she could feel the other neural-linked humans around the world. They were all connected now, part of a vast web of consciousness that spanned the globe. She could sense their thoughts, their fears, their determination to protect their world. When the process was complete, Sarah understood why the volunteers had all spoken of feeling fundamentally changed. She was still herself, but she was also something more, a bridge between species, a part of a larger collective dedicated to defending Earth.
How do you feel? Zara asked. Sarah took a moment to assess her new state of being.
Different, she said finally.
But still me. Just expanded. Good, Zara said. Because we will need every advantage we can get. The hegemony main fleet has been detected at the edge of your solar system. They will arrive in 18 hours.
The news sent a shockwave through the global command structure.
18 hours to prepare for the largest battle in human history.
Sarah could feel the tension through the neural network, the determination of 10,000 linked minds preparing for war.
But she could also feel something else, a sense of unity that humanity had never experienced before.
The neural interface hadn't just connected humans to alien technology, it had connected them to each other.
For the first time in human history, thousands of people were literally thinking as one.
We need to discuss strategy, Sarah said, her enhanced mind already processing tactical possibilities at superhuman speed.
The next 18 hours were a blur of preparation and planning. The neural-linked humans worked with the Zephyrian fleet to establish defensive positions around Earth. The linked volunteers took their positions aboard alien ships, their enhanced minds allowing them to operate the advanced weapon systems with unprecedented precision. Sarah found herself aboard Commander Zara's flagship, serving as the primary coordinator between the human neural network and the alien fleet.
Through the ship's sensors, she could see the approaching hegemony force, and the sight filled her with dread. The main fleet was massive, hundreds of ships, each one larger and more heavily armed than the scout vessels they had destroyed. These weren't just warships, they were planet killers, designed to strip worlds of their resources and eliminate any resistance.
They're not coming to conquer us, Sarah realized with growing horror. They're coming to harvest us. The hegemony has little use for individual worlds, Zara confirmed.
They consume entire star systems, breaking down planets for raw materials and enslaving any species that might be useful to them.
Through the neural network, Sarah could feel the other linked humans processing this information.
The knowledge that they were facing complete annihilation rather than mere conquest seemed to strengthen their resolve rather than weaken it.
How long do we have? Sarah asked. The hegemony fleet will reach Earth's orbit in 3 hours, Zara replied.
They will likely begin their attack immediately. Sarah closed her eyes and reached out through the neural network, feeling the minds of her fellow humans around the world. They were afraid, she could sense that clearly, but they were also determined. They would fight for their world, their families, their future. All units, this is command, Sarah said, her voice carrying across the network to every linked human.
The enemy will be here soon. Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for everyone who couldn't be here with us. We're fighting for humanity itself.
The response that came back through the network was overwhelming, 10,000 minds speaking as one, their combined will focused on a single goal, survival.
The hegemony fleet arrived exactly when Commander Zara had predicted.
The enemy ships emerged from hyperspace in a perfectly coordinated formation, their dark hulls seeming to absorb the light of the sun. They were beautiful in their own terrible way, but Sarah could sense the malevolent intelligence behind their design.
Hegemony fleet is hailing us, reported one of the Zephyrian officers. Put them through, Zara ordered.
The voice that came through the communication system was cold and mechanical, speaking in a language that the translation system struggled to process. When the translation finally came through, it was even worse than Sarah had expected. Species of the third planet, the voice said, you have been found guilty of interfering with hegemony operations.